Alright, what's up y'all, it's LakerFan here. As you can see by the title of today's video, we're ranking all 40 badges in NBA 2K26 in tiers. So as you can see, we have so many that I couldn't even put them all in this little tab to the side. So this is not identical, just understand not everything in the E tier is in the E tier, not everything in the F tier is in the F tier, we just ran out of room. So I just wanted to show you what it looks like though when all 40 of these badges are on the same screen together. What I'm going to do instead though is I'm going to put all of these where I feel like they belong, and then I'll reveal them tier by tier where we go from F to E, D, C, B, A, S all the way to the top. So I hope y'all enjoy the video. If you do, feel free to drop a like, sub if you're new to noties, all that good stuff, and like always, try this one to 1,000 likes. Not to mention we also have them color coded. So for instance, we have the rebounding related badges, we have the physical related badges, the defense, playmaking, shooting, and finishing all color coded. So I hope you can appreciate something like that, but understand that obviously they're all going to still be put in the tiers amongst each other, all 40 of them together. So let's get straight into this. Alright, so as you can see, we have a couple of them revealed right here. We have the F tier, E tier, and D tier already shown. I just wanted to straight up show you a couple of these badges, while also at the same time, I want to acknowledge to you guys that there are a couple I really don't know how to feel about personally. Now, I will, at the end of the video, rate them still. I will still put them in a tier, like on the tier list, but just understand that these are ones I feel a little bit less confident in terms of my assessment of them, and I'm not really as willing to put a stamp on, like, you know, a certain badge being in an exact spot. So these are the ones I'm a little bit questionable of. We have Mini Marksman, Versatile Visionary, and Pick Dodger, and then 4 finishing ones between Layup Mixmaster, Rise Up, Paint Prodigy, and Posterizer. Now, me being the pure slasher of the community, right? Like, you'd think I would have more of a stamp on these, but truth be told, I see a lot of people run something like Legend Posterizer or put their +2 on it and something like that. Me personally, I don't feel like it makes much of a difference at all what level my posterizer is. I feel like I either get a big meter dunk or I don't. And my level of posterizer doesn't really change that, is kind of my take on it. So that's my, slight debrief of what you're going to be hearing from these types of badges later in the video. But I just wanted to explain that because you're going to be wondering what's up with the tier list of why I have a couple of them off it right now. So anyway, let's get straight into this. Glove, unpluckable. In the F tier, for obvious reasons, pluck steals don't exist in this game, so inherently you do not need unpluckable to resist them, and because the pluck steals don't work, glove is pointless as well. Now, you could say it's less pointless than unpluckable because technically it still pops up on your blitz steals and stuff like that. Do I think that matters at all in the slightest? No, I think that's more of a cosmetic thing, to be real with you. I don't think it matters what your glove rating is as far as if you're getting bump steals or not. I mean, people can believe that if they want, but it sure doesn't look like it. And I mean, you can see that by a lot of the people that have a low glove on their build still getting the same amount of bump steals. For that matter, the bump steals don't even seem to be good. It seems to me that the way to get bump steals in this game is to actually just run into somebody rather than actually hitting your X button when the ball's being placed in that area. I've seen so many more times with me as a ball handler or me as a defender making just a straight up collision with somebody being the reason that the ball gets popped out. So I must say, if there's ever anything in a tier list video that ends up in the F tier, it's for a reason of it actually being broken in the game. I think a function like this probably should return, if we're being completely honest. Listen, everybody's gonna be like, you YouTubers, you guys in the community asked for this, no pluck steals. First of all, I didn't, thank you. You don't have to loop everybody in on the exact same debate when you don't even know what somebody's actual take on that was. And me personally, I do think that pluck steals should exist in a world where, when we were talking like the 7-4s, right, in like the early game where they were like coming out here with that normal behind the back, hitting that behind the back over and over again, and sure, if you're in the right spot to bump steal it, that is the way to steal the ball, but you can't tell me, you truly cannot tell me it's good for the balance of the game for a 99 steal on-ball defensive lockdown with Legend Glove to not be able to pluck a 60 or less ball handle 7-4 that's dribbling right in his face. I don't know. That's just my take on it. It's me personally. I think that the balance of high steal lockdowns doesn't exist in this game because there's no reason to be. That's just the truth be told of it. So a tall, versatile lockdown is much more powerful, if you ask me, and being able to rebound and guard the interior and stuff like that, and just in general be bigger, is kind of much more of a key, and on-ball stealing in this game has completely seen its way out entirely. So once again, that's why unpluckable is also in the F tier, because you don't need to resist said things. So anyway, moving along, we have Hook Specialist. Hooks, if any post scorer can attest to this, are just bad in this year's game. Post fades and stuff like that can be somewhat viable, but you guys are going to see me in this video talk about as well is the finishing side of things is going to be far lower than the defensive playmaking and the shooting and stuff like that as well, because finishing in general is a devalued thing in this game. It's the sad truth, and maybe eventually, hopefully season 2 allows me to recreate this list and I'll have like a different set of opinions and stuff like that. But right now, shooting is king, fading is king, and whatever you can do to stop that or allow that is kind of the major key, you know? So something like taking post hooks, it's not such an efficient shot really, when you could just be fading from mid-range instead, or be dunking the ball wide open instead. I mean, post scores have seen their way out of this game pretty heavily, bro. Whether it's the 1v1 court, the 2v2, on twos you're gonna be too slow to guard those fading, like, you know, guards off the screens, and if you're sitting back on the screen, your boy's gonna get absolutely smacked by the brick walls all day. On threes, you're gonna be way too slow to guard anything properly for a 3-point on, you know, a post score or something like that. And then on the ones, they even shortened the shot clock times. They made it so it's like, you know, one shot per possession, so if you miss, you can't grab your own rebound or anything like that. Long story short, post scores are just not that good in this game. It's just the truth entirely. So that also paired with the fact that hooks are just not good in general, and even hard to do for that matter as well. You get like the go-to shots for holding up on the right stick more often than not anymore. At community day, people couldn't figure out how to do a freaking hook shot in the first place. It was crazy. But anyway, moving along to the D tier, we have strong handle and slippery off ball. Now these badges are not necessarily bad, it's just I don't feel like they make a high impact on the game. Now I will say this is where we start to get into like respectable badges. I just didn't think they belonged on the level of the C tier ones that you're going to see in a second here. But what I will say about these two badges are they're pretty underrated on my list already. I've seen the ability with slippery off ball on my 6'8" compared to my 6'10" that doesn't get slippery off ball at all, versus 6'8" having it on gold. It's impactful when it comes to being a pick and roller and not getting bumped by the defensive players quite as much. It definitely is notable. It's just, once again, it's not a powerful badge. It's not something that should be thought of when making a build, other than just like, oh, hey, I have one extra speed I could put here for slippery off ball going up a level, you know? It's not something you're fiending for when making a build that you want to target a certain level of this badge or anything like that. That's just kind of my take on it. And same goes for strong handle. It's actually somewhat powerful in the right hands of someone that wants to abuse this animation of when you're getting bumped up to do a dribble move. Me personally, I think in most cases though, that's bad ethic, it's bad, you know, practice. I don't think you should be doing dribble moves while someone's right on you. It's how you will end up fumbling the ball more often than not, of doing a move that gets kind of collided into a body. And I just think it's something that bails you out a little bit more in a situation where the badge pops off and, oh well, it just kind of happened to shrug a defender off you or something like that. Not exactly my biggest, you know, I'm not the biggest fan of strong handle, essentially, is what you can clearly hear me saying, but I still wanted to put in the D tier because it's still more valuable than something like Hook Specialist, and these three badges are obviously able to work at the very least, so they belong well above the F tier. So there's our first three tiers of the video. Alright, now as you can see, we have a lot of C tier badges. I have these bleeding all the way into the right side of the list, so let's just get along with them because it's going to take a while. So I honestly don't know what I'm going to do later if I want to add something to the C tier. If I have something like Layup Mixmaster want to go there eventually, we'll get to that point in the video later. But for now, I have Bailout as one of the best C tier badges. I must say, I still believe in this badge a good bit, but my teammates in the community doesn't seem to quite as much, and I've been trying it at multiple different levels. I've tried it on bronze, I have it on gold as well. I honestly think that it's a little bit more respectable than most, but some people think the badge doesn't even work at all. I still think though, on the bailing out of like layup takes and stuff like that, bailing out of jump shots, my teammates having this, especially Kitchen for that matter, with his 99 pass accuracy 6'11", it has absolutely made a difference in terms of being able to do something like that. Now, is it like game breaking? I don't think so. I think a lot of jump shots are pretty fast. No dipping and stuff like that is tough. You can't even bail out of all of your dunks or anything like that either. Like, it's only a certain set amount of them, and like it kind of is based on the animations. If it's an off 2 dunk, it'll do a lot more. If it's off 1, you can't always do the bailout. So long story short, I just think something that holds it back a little bit is its utility of like the no dip shots, the dunks off 1, stuff like that, not being able to really do it quite as much essentially. But it's still a decent badge. I think it still belongs in the C tier. Same goes for something like High Flying Denier, Movable Enforcer. These are two both very solid defensive badges, but not something that I think is game changing and like, you know, ridiculous. Now, my hesitance with the movable is that this badge only pops up on the interior. It seems to not actually apply to perimeter defense. Now, to be fair, there's been badges that kind of ghost work in 2K in the past. Like, they will they'll work and clearly are making a difference, but they won't activate on the top right in your like kind of ticker, if you will. And essentially what I'm trying to say is it's possible that immovable is still helping on the on-ball defensive perimeter, defensive like areas and stuff like that, but it only activates on the interior. So I'm not exactly sure how to feel about this one. I probably, it like arguably could have been put in this list right here of my like undecideds as well, but for now, I'm leaving this in the C tier. I think it's like a decent badge. It doesn't seem to make a crazy difference, and like strength in general on a defensive player doesn't seem to be the most ridiculous thing ever. I think your agility and speed are mainly the key components in actually bumping people, rather than something like immovable, or on-ball menace as well is another key component. But yeah, immovable still in the C tier. I don't want to like completely discredit it and, you know, throw it somewhere in like the D or anything below that either. So we have it in the C. High flying denier is still very good for the ISO defense, but it's like tougher to rely on, right? Because the thing about this game is once again, I wanted to devalue a badge like this because, truth be told, why the heck do you need to play a chase down block in 2K26 right now anyway? Dudes are just going to be fading from 3 or fading from midi, so this doesn't even apply quite as much. Truth be told, it's not a lot of dunking going on in this game, so it gets devalued a little bit in terms of like the inflation of 3-point shooting and mid-range fading. It just doesn't see itself being as valuable of a badge because it's only related to your, you know, like defending the interior and like, you know, chase downs in particular. So high flying denier in the C tier. I am still a believer in the power of the badge. I've seen it in action early in the year when dudes weren't just fading every single thing, and it was a pretty respectable badge in the sense of that like 99 block lockdown build with the legend high flying denier and legend paint patroller, that it really was standing out as something that was really doable, and especially in comparison to lower levels and stuff like that. But honestly, even still, bronze high flying denier is still a very solid level of the badge as well. Something like post move lockdown, we have it in the C tier because it really does work well. When I was playing the ones court early in the year, once again, when people weren't just fading everything, they were coming out here on the 7-4s and stuff like that as well. And let me tell you, those 7-4 post scores against gold post lockdown were getting absolutely locked up, even silver for that matter too. And it's a pretty powerful badge. It's just, once again, it's only as powerful as its counterparts are. So as you can see, we have things like Post Up Poet and Post Powerhouse sitting in the C tier too. And it's because, truth be told, once again, post scoring is not as effective and it's not as valuable in this game. The same thing can be applied to the unpluckable and gloved conversation, right? It's like, well, this is a bit of a different story because they both actually are pointless and doesn't even matter, just because glove is literally pointless, so that makes unpluckable literally pointless. But the point is that post lockdown is pretty much just as powerful as post powerhouse and post up poet, and kind of fade phenom, not as much. We'll talk about that in a second. But point being is, yeah, like if the badges aren't being used a lot, then that means post lockdown is probably not being used a lot either. So the thing about post fade phenom though is that I would say the power of post lockdown is that you can play a post scorer tight and not get hit with the ankle breakers that, like, let's say for instance the post up poet would allow you to do, aka doing post spins off of defenders, or post powerhouse giving you the drop steps and stuff like that as well, or just in general moving people hard. In this case, when you have post lockdown, you can play them tighter, and that also allows you to play the post fades better too, because when you don't have post lockdown guarding a post scorer, you do have to back up off them in order to not get hit with the canned animation ankle breakers, if you will, out the post. Whereas in this case, like when you have the post lockdown high, it allows you to actually play that really well and play the fades and still resist those post spins and stuff like that as well. So something like post lockdown good, and then again like the fade phenom and post up poet and powerhouse, they're all still pretty capable of doing what you want them to do with, like I said, breaking ankles or moving people. Or I've seen Tonic come out here with the post fade phenom as well on a legend level, and like it's powerful still. Obviously, truth be told though, to be fair, I think you could be hitting those types of shots anyway, even without the badge. It is still based on your mid-range rating at the end of the day. It's not like it's a separate attribute or anything like that. So yeah, I don't know. Everything in here just kind of belongs in the C tier. If it's like a mediocre badge that doesn't seem to make a whole lot of impact on the game style of how the game's played, but it's still something that works at a good to moderate level. So anyway, speaking of which, moving along, off-ball pest. I'm trying to make sure we hit everything right here and we don't actually skip anything or forget anything. So with off-ball pest, this is pretty good. I will say that people can still get the spot finder, like, you know, off-ball cuts on you pretty well in this game, and off-ball pest will not protect you entirely, but it's still a decent badge, all things considered. I used to hate on this badge a lot. I felt like it didn't make any difference in games like 2K20, but recently in these next-gen 2Ks, it does feel like off-ball pest can allow you to get pretty bumpy off-ball and actually impede people's movement, but at the end of the day, that's all it's doing. I mean, you're not getting steals because of it. you are defending cuts decently because of it, but it's also possible that when you get into an off-ball pest animation, that it stops you from even backpedaling like you were trying to, and then the guy just ends up cutting on you anyway, as long as the pass timing was right. So it's an okay badge. Mediocre at best, if you ask me. Never something you should actually be that concerned about, of like when you're making a build, what level of off-ball pest can I get? Unless you're someone like a small guard or a super tall, slow big man that's just praying for some help on defense, essentially on guarding cuts or guarding off-ball movement. But anyway, moving along, we have Aerial Wizard. In a year where you have to actually time all the lobs with the correct button as well, I think a badge like this makes a pretty decent impact. But once again, lobs aren't worth throwing because you could just score 2 in a easier way with the post fades. I really do hope, and this is a side tangent on the video, I hope everybody's cool with that, but I hope they do touch something to do with the fading in this game. It's way too good. I know everybody's saying we should make defense better in order to counter it. We're tired of nerfing offense and considering that to be a defensive boost, but bro, like, let's be real. I mean, not everybody makes fadeaway shots at a high rate in basketball in general, let alone it's not good balance for the game itself. So I just feel like inherently everybody's talking about like nerf rhythm shooting, nerf, you know, blah, 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 make defense better and faster and like able to, you know, catch up. Bro, I don't think people think 2 steps ahead when they talk about stuff like that. You do that, all it's going to do is employ fading even harder, because then you can't get open anyway because the defenders are moving too fast. You can't get open for regular shots and you can't get open on your drives because the defenders are moving too fast. Point being, something like fading that's uncontestable in the first place needs to get patched, simply put. So I hope they do, because honestly, to talk about something like float game is pointless because it's literally just a floater that has probably almost nearly as big of a green window as the fades do with the rhythm shooting, to be real with you. So anyway, I do want to just give that side tangent of talking about things like, once again, it's not worth throwing lobs more often than not because you can just do it in a more efficient way. It's not worth taking floaters because you can just score from that exact range of the court in a more efficient way. I hope you understand what I'm getting at with this tier list, that fading is king and it really is holding a lot of these badges back, and I'm serious about why they are in the C tier instead of being higher than I probably would put them, because the play style is kind of mid. It's kind of pointless. Post scoring and lob catching and floaters and stuff like that and layups in general are just not quite as valuable because of it. So anyway, let's keep moving along though. Hopefully for a season 2 patch, we could actually find something to be like good value and stuff like that. And I will speed up a little bit here. I know we're taking a long time in the C tier, but that's because there's just a ton of them. But anyway, yeah, Aerial, if we want to just throw all gameplay stuff aside, and I probably will at this point as well, and I want to talk about what the badges are good for. Aerial Wizard is obviously going to be helpful in a game where you have to time your lobs with 4 different face buttons and also in a concise amount of time. So to have a bigger window on it is pretty helpful, and also to be able to catch contact lobs is still somewhat usable, not to mention you activate two-way tenacity off of catching and throwing a lob. So something like Versatile Visionary paired with Aerial Wizard, when it's 2 counterparts working together, it's possible that on 3s, if you have your on-ball defender and your back-end defender catching and throwing a lob, you both have two-way in the next possession, and it actually will help you quite a bit on defense. So lobs in general can still be somewhat useful for that reason in particular. It's crazy though, isn't it, that I've talked about how it benefits you defensively to have something like Aerial Wizard. But anyway, yeah, for float game, I will say floaters are still powerful. They're pretty like decent. The layup meter kind of lies to you in this game though. It looks like it's big, but it's not. It's just like, I don't even know how to really assess it. It's just you'll know what I'm talking about if you've missed a full green bar that clearly looks like it's makeable, and then all of a sudden it says you were late, like very late or something like that. It's kind of wild and ridiculous, but point being, still float game, physical finisher, the ability to still hit contested floaters and stuff like that is still somewhat powerful. More for 5s, I'd have to say as well though. Like a playstyle that I kind of think of is like, for instance, Kitchen when I'm playing pick and roll with him, and if I'm on the roll myself and the big man drops to guard me, if Kitchen can then still beat his perimeter defender off the dribble and get into that mid-range area, instead of doing a front fade, which is kind of unreliable in terms of getting the animation to pop off, he can instead do a floater of a straight downhill animation, right? And it'll still give like something like that Bam Adebayo floater from 18, 19 feet, crab your defender behind you while still even getting that float to kind of beat a paint-sitting defender, if you will. So it's decent in the right settings, but like for 2s and 3s, kind of pointless. For 5s though, could be really valid, and same with physical finisher. Again, making contested layups can be a lot more valuable in something like 5s. Maybe 2s, to be fair, but again, 3s, I don't know, it's like, it's kind of pointless to be taking something like a contested layup in the first place when you could just get a wide open dunk off a pick and roll. So, yeah, I don't know. Or like a wide open dunk off people respecting your 3 too hard if you're ISOing. But anyway, the only one we're missing right now that we've talked about, or that haven't been talked about, is pogo stick. This is decent, once again, for the ability to have this at like a high level. I'm sure I've seen a lot of comments of it. I've seen myself have a high level of pogo stick as well. To be able to jump in succession is pretty helpful in this game when guarding the paint. I will say a lot of times, more often than not, unless it's a super tall big man, though, you don't necessarily have to jump on most things. Meter dunks are pretty broken where the level of your interior defense doesn't matter, your size doesn't matter hardly at all, so it's really a lot more about just staying in good positioning. So to jump yourself out of good position is kind of bad. However, if we're talking like 7'4s, super tall paint mashers, if you will, pogo stick is really important because you can't get shot contests on those close shots and, like, you know, some layups even for that matter as well, unless you're jumping. So something like this can still be valuable and helpful, but again, probably doesn't belong any higher than the C tier, just for the sake of kind of, you know, the balance of the game operating that way. So anyway, moving along. Into the B tier, we have a lot of really good badges now. These are ones that you could even argue A tier potentially, and I think they're significantly better than all of the C tier ones as well. So we have Challenger, Dimer, Box Out Beast, debatably the best one in the B tier, in my opinion here. On-Ball Menace, Limitless Range, also kind of controversial topic right here. Brick Wall, and Break Starter. So let's talk about Limitless first, because I feel like this is going to be the most controversial one to have at this part of the video. Limitless, in my opinion, is masked by the fact that Deep Bomber is really overpowered and powerful. I don't know if Limitless Range necessarily should be considered the powerful thing here. Now, it's still B tier. I still will say I've seen plenty of my teammates hit from a more consistent rate from deep, aka like, you know, about 5-6 feet off, but you have to be like pretty far back for this badge to even activate in the first place, and anything within that range of like less than 5 feet deep or 4 feet deep or something like that doesn't even activate the badge in the first place. So I think this might be a more of an overrated badge, and I think maybe even putting in the B tier might be overrating it a little bit too, but I don't want to undersell the power of this because obviously, like, you know, deep three-point shooting in general can be pretty powerful. It's just, I don't know, it's kind of hard to say whether it's the badge or the takeover because dudes just run Deep Bomber all the time. So it's kind of hard to tell the difference because a lot of people that don't shoot shots like this probably just don't have the badge. A little hard to say though. I mean, you could argue it should have been in the questionables down here, but I just want to throw it in the B tier because I don't think it belongs on the level of a lot of the shooting badges that are above it, but probably shouldn't be on the level of something like post-fade phenom, you know what I mean? Or like float game or off-ball pest, if we're being real. I think that's probably a little bit disrespectful to Limitless, but in my opinion, it's probably one of the lower B tier badges here. Now, let's talk about some of the high B tiers. We have things like On-Ball Menace, Challenger, Dimer, Box Out Beast, even Brick Wall. I would maybe say Break Starter too, but I think it's probably a level below those 5 right there. Where, like, let's talk about Challenger, On-Ball Menace first, obviously, where, I mean, these are going to be your key component badges for stopping perimeter scoring players in this game, whether it's a 7'4 that you need Challenger to guard, or an On-Ball Menace that, I mean, truth be told, is also walling up like crazy on people trying to beat you off the dribble on taller builds for that matter, but also to even stop the smaller shifty guards. But I mean, yeah, something like this will pop up in the ones court like I'm talking about on a 7'4 trying to get past you, and you are just going to stonewall, stonewall, stonewall all over place every single possession, and they can't even get past you. It's really a good badge. I mean, truth be told, the bumpiness of defenders in this game is really good. Like, it's just that, once again, once you get out of their reach, the fades start kind of, you know, ensuing. But On-Ball Menace, really good. Challenger, really good in terms of getting, you know, enhanced shot contesting ability as well. There's not much more to really be said about Challenger other than that. I mean, obviously, every key component lockdown wants to have this, and everybody on the court should have it. Obviously, builds above like 7 foot, 7'1" or so start to lose the ability to get this, and then anything taller than that just doesn't get it at all. Dimer, underrated if you ask me. Now, in this game where it's easy to shoot, I gotta say, it's really nice to even still have your teammates not barely miss their windows of their shot. I mean, I've been running high levels of Dimer, Dishmaster takeover, stuff like that, and yeah, my teammates are automatic. Who knows what they would have been before that? I'm not trying to undersell them either. I just feel like it's a nice solid thing to have. It never hurts to have Legend Dimer or Hoff Dimer, Gold, Silver, anything like that. If you were to just remove it entirely, I don't know if you'd feel the same difference. I guess something like the Basketball Gods would be a good way to test it, to be fair, because you could have 99 pass ac because the ratings are going all the way up, but not have the badges at the level. But anyway, the point being is that I do think something like Dimer is still very helpful, and I think still belongs on the level of the B tier above all of these other badges in the C. Box Out Beast, easily the best B tier badge we have right here. I just didn't feel like it belonged on par with the A tier badges, but definitely is at the top of the B. So obviously this is more than just boxing defenders out on the rebounds. It's still warming people as well, breaking the box outs. So it does feel like there is definitely a tandem of, let's say, your strength rating and stuff like that, while still pairing with the fact that you don't need strength to get box out beast badge anymore. It's just that your strength does still feel like it makes a difference in terms of warming people. But box out beast is definitely like a top tier badge, all things considered, whether it's just the fact that you need it to still box people out as well, or just, again, to break them. So there's not a whole lot more to really say about it, to be real with you. I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory what the badge does and what it's good for and what you need it for, or how you're gonna, you know, struggle if you don't have it. But yeah, in this game where rebounding is not essentially like king, I guess, is probably why I move this down to the B tier a little bit. I mean, it's tough to say. The efficiency is pretty high on offense in this game as is, so like rebounding gets slightly devalued a tad bit, slash like, you know, box out positioning a tad bit gets devalued. So I don't know, it's tough to really call it like an A tier, S tier badge, but it's still powerful and good at what it's supposed to do. So anyway, moving along, we have brick wall. Obviously screen setting in this game is still very good. I will say, I want to give my opinion on this officially. I don't think I've spoken on this. I feel like pick and roll in this game is bad. Like, I don't like being a roller in this game. Being like a guy that's trying to react to the defense and be a high IQ, like slip at the right times, hold screen at the right times kind of guy. I feel like this game does employ the brain dead hold B button all game types of guys, and just like, oh well, if you get your guard blitzed, oh well, it doesn't even matter. Blitzes don't actually exist anyway, so I mean, what does it matter? And then yeah, like, I mean, if your guard's getting double teamed or something like that, you'll eventually get down anyway. I guess what I'm saying is the game doesn't really kind of get the best out of pick and rollers, if you ask me. And not to mention that it's a little unresponsive on the rolls anyway, is what I was really trying to get at. So I feel like the badge itself, though, of brick wall is very good and effective at setting good screens. And God, if someone's out here trying to fight through screens in this game, I think they're tweaking already, because I mean, in this world where you can just be 6'8" and a point guard, or 6'11" and a point guard, and still be able to, like, you know, like defend people, I do feel like it's kind of dumb, if you ask me. I hate to say that word, but like, it's not smart to make a defender that can't switch on screens. So inherently, I feel like you need to play sides more, and it avoids getting hit by these screens in the first place. So that kind of devalues the badge a tad bit, but the power of the screen setting itself is what forces you to have to play sides. So I would say you still have to call it a good badge and put it in the B tier. You could argue maybe even the A tier, to be fair. But anyway, moving along, we have break starter. This is for 5s only. I would say, I mean, 3s technically, I suppose too. I don't know if break throwing on 3s is that necessary, considering half court offense is like in the state it is right now, where you can kind of just get whatever. But yeah, break throwing in 5s is definitely valuable still, and you need the badge to be able to do so at a high rate. So I mean, that's a pretty quick self-explanatory like point of break starter. But I don't want to overdo talking about break starter too much. I mean, truth be told, you want it on bigs. It comes with higher pass accuracy. You obviously need the high pass ac in general to make those types of passes. I don't know. I guess I'd be curious to find out if you were to take break starter off of the build but still have 99 pass ac, what it would look like. I feel like that's not something we see enough, so it's hard to really put your stamp on exactly how valuable something like break starter is. But anyway, moving along into the A tier, these are the top of the top badges, and then the S tier is like the elites. Now, I will say the gap between the A tier and S tier is not the huge, like it's not the biggest I've ever had, where it feels like sometimes I'll be like, yo, S tier is like untouchable, not even close what's still here, like as opposed to what's in A. Anyway, let's get straight into this with the A tiers. We have Interceptor, Paint Patroller, Deadeye, Handles for Days, Ankle Assassin. I think what stands out here as not a typical culprit of being this high on a list would be Ankle Assassin. I think a lot of these types of badges right here you typically would see high on a tier list. Ankle Assassin though, not always here. Ankle breakers aren't usually as good as they are in this game. Ankle breakers are very overpowered in this game. They happen a lot. There's a lot of moves that get blended in, whether it's, you know, the momentums, the snatchbacks, stuff like that, that I'm spamming the heck out of the snatchbacks. And let me tell you, I'm breaking a lot of ankles off silver and gold Ankle Assassin. It's pretty wild. Even bronze for that matter on a 610. And the stuns you get on this as well are very impactful, especially, and again, we have to talk about this because it's the gameplay that we play right now. The fading. Getting stuns on players and then fading is literally so powerful. I mean, to make your defender even hesitate for a second at guarding you and attempting to move to where you're trying to go is so impactful. And That's exactly what this is, essentially, is, you know, allowing you to impede defenders from moving entirely, or even taking them out the play entirely by just breaking them in general. And it's all kind of RNG, you know what I mean? It just truly pops off at random times, and kind of, I'd be having two-way tenacity on a 92 per MD and still get my ankles broken or something like that, as opposed to, like, I'll be on a 610 that has, like, you know, no two-way and no on-ball menace or anything like that, and, you know, I'm sitting there perfectly fine. It's just completely random, in my opinion, it feels like. Now, I don't know. I mean, maybe at the end of the day, per MD still probably helps you from not getting your ankles broke. It's just, you know, random happenings and stuff like that of how many times people are spamming snatchbacks on you over and over and over again. You're bound to eventually get stunned or broke or something like that, no matter what your per MD is. But anyway, yeah, definitely valuable. Handles for days, same sort of deal. I mean, the more you can just spam dribbling and stuff like that, blah, 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 and not end up being blinking enough to where you're actually like below half on your stamina when you're shooting, so it's going to slow down your shot. And just in general, it's obviously pretty helpful to not be blinking on your stamina ever. So handles for days, A tier, simple. I mean, it's a great badge. It obviously does what it's supposed to do, and there's not really anything else in the game that can stop that from happening other than your stamina rating, or I guess to be fair, like, you know, Gatorade and stuff like that, buying that, etc., or if you're in a crew and you have the boost or whatever. But point being, handles for days, always probably going to be something along the lines of A tier in every 2K, essentially, give or take. Might end up S, might end up B, depends on how dribblehead, you know, central we are, and it's pretty decent in terms of dribblehead central. So it's just that it doesn't require as much dribbling to get open in this game currently as you would expect, so it's probably not more in the S tier range. Anyway, paint patroller, though inside scoring is a little bit mediocre, like I'm talking about, in comparison to the power of shooting from perimeter, it's still valuable, 100%, to be able to stop people in the paint, get blocks, get, you know, walled up on the interior. For fives especially, this is a really good badge to have on multiple people. It's what makes you switchable on screens, as well as the ability to rebound. So things like guarding in the interior are still important, because you need to have the versatility on the screens to be able to have people, you know, doubling the guard, essentially. And you still don't want to give up free 2-point shots, especially on fives. But yeah, for like twos especially as well. I mean, it's make it take it. You can't give up a free 2-point shot. So the ability to still chase someone down with a high flying denier, or to just block them in general with a paint patroller, or just play better interior defense in general, is very good. I would even say the badge might be too powerful. If you remember at the beginning of the year, when nobody had their interior D maxed out, then nobody had the paint patroller because their interior defense was so low. Remind you, we had to make 85 overall builds. When I was playing the community day early access or whatever, like where it was just YouTubers, bro, it was dunk meter central on this game. But after paint patroller was achieved and all types of people get their interior D and block up and stuff like that, it's not really the case anymore. You have to resort to a lot more of the fading and stuff like that once again. So yeah, I definitely still believe paint patroller is powerful, 100%. So it still belongs in this type of threshold because it's really good at what it does. But speaking of really good at what it does, interceptor, 100%. This is the whole value of steal rating in general in this game. Otherwise, there's no point in it. I mean, whether it's the 60 steal threshold, the 73 steal threshold, the 85, 94, whatever it may be for the interceptor, they're all exactly where you want to hit with your steal rating, because truth be told, the glove doesn't matter at all. So it's exactly what you want to base your steal rating off of, is just the steal thresholds for the interceptor on the badge levels. But yeah, every level of this, whether it's bronze, silver, gold, Hall of Fame, they all feel impactful in terms of what like you get for the interception lanes and stuff like that. And 60 is powerful. 70, I would say it's more like probably a jump to 85 is where you want to really be for the powerful interceptor power. Sorry, lots of power going on right here, but you get what I'm saying. Like the difference between bronze and gold is probably where I'd say the biggest threshold is. Silver doesn't feel like it's like a life changer, but yeah. And then Hall of Fame, I mean, them dudes are freaks in the lane for sure with the Hall of Fame interceptor, but it's a lot of steel to really resonate putting on your build in this game, at least. But it's good for sure. Anyway, last up we have Deadeye right here, and then we'll go ahead and just reveal the S tier early so you can see it. But just want to talk about Deadeye. I will say you could argue Deadeye in the S tier as well. You can look at a lot of the other badges in this. We have Shifty and Set Shot for just simply the ability to like shoot while open. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Lightning Launch in order to get open, and then Rebound Chaser because it is truly the kingpin of, like, you know, big men builds in this game, simply put. But Deadeye, I wanted to put in A tier. I don't think it's nearly as impactful. Again, fading, you're kind of just open already as is, truth be told. Now, if you go back to like patch, well, not patch 1, because I mean, I don't even know if they considered this a patch, to be fair, on the 7.4s or not. I don't even know. I mean, patch 2 is technically coming in like a week, or the season 2 patch. I don't even know what the heck we're calling this stuff. But anyway, point being, when 7.4s were shooting over people's head and stuff like that, I would definitely consider Deadeye to be an important badge. I mean, dudes are literally shooting right in the face of somebody, and to have Deadeye is going to be important while trying to do something like that. But this game has devolved into a little bit less important to be shooting right in the face of somebody. I would say the shot contesting in general is somewhat powerful, so to negate it with Deadeye is still important, but it's not something you can constantly rely on or anything like that. You will get contested at a decent rate, and it's hard to make things that are like above a 40% contest in this game. I mean, you get more than a 40, dudes generally not making it more often than not, and especially if it's a red. But yeah, I would still call Deadeye an A tier badge, all things considered, 100%. Now, moving along. Like I said, we have Shifty and Set Shot. Let's talk about these. So obviously the ability to fade is huge. Yes, I know there are still 7-foot plus builds fading in this game. That doesn't mean that they're doing it at nearly as high of a rate of a 6'11 and shorter. Trust me, I would absolutely love to see a 7'4 sit here and try and fade all game on me. It's not as powerful. I truly do believe that. Now, it's still possible, sure. I do acknowledge that like you can still fade in this game without Shifty. And yeah, I mean, like we all have seen, well, if you've seen the video from Toots, it is pretty powerful, and it's ridiculous how little it is penalizing to you as a shooter to be shooting a fade compared to a standstill shot. It's like a 3 or 5 millisecond difference. It's crazy, but anyway, the point being, this is the badge that employs that playstyle even further, so why would it not be an S tier badge? I mean, it does what it's supposed to do. You shoot better while fading, and not to mention, this badge still even pops up as well off of snatchback shooting sometimes, like I be doing. Sometimes my bronze Shifty shooter pops up instead of silver set shot, and I don't know. I don't even know if I like that personally because I obviously have it at a lower level. So, but point being, yeah, for some shots off the dribble, it will still pop up Shifty. For a lot of the catch and shoot shooting, or like, you know, sitting there for a good decent little bit, is going to be Set Shot, and both of these belong in the S tier. Lightning Launch for the ability to get open, not to mention just, man, like the difference it makes when you have it at bronze at the very least, when you're on like those 6'11, 6'10 builds, and being able to +2 this to the gold is a huge difference compared to not having the badge at all. So the ability to get open in this game and move fast is very important as an on-ball player, and Lightning Launch is an S tier badge, all things considered, when you know, slice that information up. And then Rebound Chaser, I don't think you can argue this in the A tier. I really do think this still belongs in the S tier. I mean, I guess very gameplay dependent, this could be an A tier badge if we're talking like comp stage or something like that. But for 5s, for, you know, 2v2, it's extremely important as well because, I mean, sure, you can complain about the midi fades all day like I have been as well, but at the end of the day, when he finally misses one, you have to get that rebound. And I mean, you can see what happens when a guy with Legend Rebound Chaser is down there in the paint. It's hard to compete with him when you have, like, you know, bronze. I mean, it's going to be impossible, for that matter, to compete with him when you have bronze. Silver is like, that 80 rebound threshold is kind of where it starts to be, like, competable, if you ask me, against 99 dudes, but it's tough even still, for sure. So the power of this badge is very obvious. It's just that it gets limited by the fact that people don't really miss quite as much in the game. But, I mean, when you actually do get a stop, it sure helps to be able to secure the real stop by getting the rebound rather than just sit there and be like, well, we gave up 7 O boards this game on 5s. That's like, you know, 7 more shot attempts that they wouldn't have had or anything like that. So yeah, definitely still believe Rebound Chaser is super important for 5s, 3s, 2s. For 1s, obviously it's not important at all because there's no such thing as rebounding anymore. But it's nonetheless besides the point. Anyway, let's get into some of these unranked badges right here. So, Pick Dodger. I don't even think this is truly helpful. Again, I still think even trying to dodge picks in general, besides the fact that the badge is not really that great in the first place, I don't think it's really worth mentioning too much. I think your agility rating matters way more, and like the pick dodger itself isn't really like the biggest deal ever. So I don't want to BS these ratings. I'm gonna, like, you know, I'll probably make cuts on the video if I'm not confident in where I want to put something like this. But again, I'm already not confident in like what I think of all these badges in the first place anyway. So these are kind of more like the Hail Mary end of the video. Just want to throw them where I think they belong, but not really like the biggest deal. But yeah, pick dodger for sure. I still think switching on screens is way more important in this game, and it kind of negates the whole brick wall debate that we were just having earlier. But yeah, definitely would leave it in the D tier. It's nowhere near as good as the C tier. And I mean, now I will say, if you are a small lockdown defender, you need this badge. I mean, like, I still think you're BSing if you're on a 6'7" and shorter lockdown that's trying to fight through screens all game and can't switch on to bigs. That is terrible in this game, 100%. So I still think you need the ability to rebound and switch, and that kind of makes it less important to be able to fight through the screens. But yeah, the badge isn't that great. I don't know. I mean, all things considered, I feel like it belongs in D tier. You could argue C. Maybe I'm leaning away from C just because it's full. I hope that's not what I'm going to do here. And to be fair, I'm going to say the same thing about Layup Mixmaster. This is a badge that, like, truth be told, it's already easy enough to either get wide open fades, wide open dunks, stuff like that. You don't need to be a crafty finisher in the first place, let alone if you even also devolve this to the fact that like this badge is gonna help you make content, you know, like the acrobatic layups, if you will, or you know, be able to, let's say, get your gathers in a better way. But the thing is that like I feel like low-key doing the gather dunks is the more effective way to do this anyway. Like that James Harden Euro is cool and it's really powerful, but doing that into a dunk is even better. So, and I don't think you need the badge at all to be able to do that at a better rate or anything like that. This is just literally the rate of making those layups off of those moves. So don't really think layup Mixmaster should be any higher than D tier. It's nowhere near in the same power, if you will, as the badges above it. I'm probably gonna make a quick little cut right here. I want to maybe consider some of these badges at a better level, but posterizer, yeah, I'll make a cut. I want to give a little bit of thought to these. Okay, I added 2 badges right here. We're gonna move poster to the C tier, rise up to the B tier. I feel like you know, inherently X button dunk the standing dunks a tad bit more, and to be able to get into the dunks at a higher rate is very important, obviously, because if you get the standing lay or something like that at that point, really bad. I guess what I'm trying to say is that like you get into the standing dunks more because of rise up, so it's just good in general while in tandem with being X button related. Whereas posterizer, like I already told y'all, I honestly, if it were my personal list, I guess when making a build, I want something along the lines of the poster thresholds, but I'm really second guessing stuff like that, to be real with you. And not to mention, I've never really ran +1, +2 on this anymore. I was running it early in the season, and I just felt like, what's the point? You just get meter dunk sizes based off of how the defenders play you anyway. And I'm not really sure this matters at all, to be real with you. So I don't know. I'm putting in the C tier for now just because I don't want to completely call it garbage and call it like an F tier badge. But my gut says it's an F tier badge. You know, I truly don't think this makes a difference when it comes to the contact dunking in this game. Because, I mean, man, I already showed it to y'all in the test that I did a couple of days ago. Like when I was in the my court with Bonnie just dunking on his 6'2" with 25 interiority, 25 block. If he was in a good guarding position when I had Legend Posterizer 93 dunk on because I was +2ing it, I mean, truly, it didn't make any difference anyway. I don't know. Not to be fair, I didn't test it at multiple different levels of poster, but I just mean it's crazy that I was still getting small meters because he was in a good guarding position with a 25 interiority, 25 block, and like 6'2" build. You know, I mean, I don't know. That's my take on it. I'm leaving it in the C tier for now because I don't want to completely discredit it, but in my personal viewpoint, could probably be lower than that. I just don't want to sit here and make people mad because they think they know something about the badge, but I truly don't think that's the case. Anyway, Paint Prodigies for close shot mashing. I'll probably consider this a C tier badge too. I mean, it's the same thing as like what we were talking about with all these other post-up badges and stuff like that. Mashing is good. I saw a video of Joey playing on a 99 close shot build that was like 7-4, just paint mashing and stuff, and it is good. It's powerful. If this game weren't so fade-centric, I'd probably put this in the B tier just because paint mashing is very hard to contest as well. Especially if you're a smaller player, 100%. But Paint Prodigy going along with that. Again, definitely a decent badge in terms of its power level, but yeah, just in the game sense of it, it's not nearly as high. This is also for being quick with going up with your layups too, so it kind of negates the ability to contest from late, closeout areas and stuff like that. So yeah, it's an okay badge, all things considered. I'm gonna move it in the C tier. As you can obviously see, this is how it's gonna just kind of bleed into this. Like the D tier badges are in the D tier, they're inside this border, but the C tier is leaking out right here, and it's just like too many of them. Mini Marksman. Now, here's the thing, fellas. I was playing that Basketball Gods, and it was my first impression of Mini Marksman that I could possibly get, because what was happening was, let me lay this out for you because it's kind of important. If you go into Basketball Gods, you can make a brand new build. All of your attributes would go up to 99 no matter what build you're on. So 7-4s had 99 perimeter, 99 block, 99 steal, stuff like that. However, you don't get the badges to go along with. So the only way you could have, Legend Challenger while also still having 99 perimeter would be if you made a build that actually got Legend Challenger. So like a 6'9" that could +2 it or something like that, you would have Legend Challenger with 99 perimeter because every rating goes up to 99. Like I was telling y'all, it's just that the badges are based off your prefix version of the build. So anyway, me and Bonnie were on 7-3, 7-4, coming out here with like 99 perimeter 7-4s, but didn't have Challenger. those small guards weren't really getting a whole lot of, like, you know, different contests, if you ask me, because what that would really lead to more often than not, right? You would think, wow, there's a guard that's a whole foot and 2 inches shorter than you, and you don't even have challenger, yet you're still getting contest on him. Again, it's like the perimity was high on those types of builds. It just didn't really feel like mini marksman was doing a whole lot. So I'm gonna put this badge in D tier off of that information, but it's like I told y'all, that's why I have this later in the video of, like, you know, this kind of caveat of I don't really know how to feel about the badge because I just got my first impression of really getting a good test of it right then. Other than that, you could also argue, and this is why I don't want to argue, like, you know, some badges like this, because there's a lot of 6.3s and below that they have 99 3-pointers. So they just have Legend Deadeye to go with as well, and like 99 3 in general. So people can act like it's mini marksman carrying, but for all they know, it might just be Deadeye on those smaller builds. So I don't know. You'd have to be someone that uses a 6.3 and a 6.4 in this game. One gets mini marksman, the other doesn't, and then you have that information and opinion on whether the mini marksman makes a big difference. Obviously, I am not tapped in on that type of stuff. It's not what I play, so inherently I don't have a great opinion on that, and I don't know a lot of people that do either, because truth be told, small guards are not exactly that great. You can do the same thing fading on a bigger build in this game anyway. Be a 6'8 doing it as well. So anyway, moving along to our final one, we have Versatile Visionary right here. This is for, you know, getting you to thread needle on passes and stuff like that. It's also for, you know, just like being able to throw lobs better. Is all that stuff super important? Probably, like to the ability to skip passes past people. I just don't know exactly how effective it is, to be fair. And you'd have to really get some thorough, detailed tests on this, asking people like Labs and Toots to be getting, like, you know, levels of Versatile Visionary thrown past people on a timing cue of the lockdown, pressing X to play the lane. At the end of the day, I don't know, fellas. I have it on my builds and stuff like that, obviously with a high pass accuracy, and the high pass accuracy be zipping. It's really good, and the ability to maybe even still get it past defenders' heads even better is pretty interesting. I don't know, but do I know how effective it is? No. So I'm probably just going to throw it C tier again as well. I don't really know. I could not confidently ever put this up here with the B tier badges, yet it's still probably a badge I would want more than something in the D tier, to be fair. You know, like, I definitely would want Versatile over Strong Handles if I had to pick one on my build. Same with Layup Mixmaster. I don't know. It's hard to say about Slippery Off Ball. I'd love to still have Slippery Off Ball, or to have it on my 610, and I'd probably be willing to take Versatile Visionary off it. But I don't know. These are all very niche things, you know. But anyway, point being, we're just going to leave it in the C tier for now. I do apologize that some of these I didn't really have a great firm idea on how I wanted to rank them. I know this video got super long as well, but that's the point. It's all 40 badges. I'm sorry that, you know, I'm trying to go a little bit detailed on all these, and it definitely leads you to being on this recording for quite a long time. So anyway, my voice is low-key, like, dying right now. I hope you all appreciated the video. If you did, feel free to drop a like, sub, and you turn on noties, all good stuff. Like always, try to 1,000 likes, and if you made it to the end of the video, put your favorite badge in here in the comments. Church Sports, you know, all the way through, or or if you would like to, and maybe preface this, say what badge you think needs to be buffed in this game. I mean, obviously, it depends on your outlook on things, because something like Glove getting buffed means that pluck steals are important. I don't know. It's tough to say, man. I'm not gonna lie. So I don't know. Just say your favorite badge. Say what you think needs buffed. Whatever you'd like to preface it with the information. Appreciate you for just making it to the end of the video. And if you want to show your support, like I said, any of that type of feedback. But anyway, soft video. Hope you all enjoyed. I hope we can make an updated version of this for Season 2. I really hope the Season 2 patch makes some changes to the game. Otherwise, you will catch me on only 5s this year, fellas. Because I'm not gonna lie, the 3s and 2s gameplay is very not up my wheelhouse. I am not really a fan of the whole fade central. I can't lie to you. So anyway, that's all video. Hope you all enjoyed. Than that, take it easy, man. Peace.